My name's Ernie Withers. I'm the General Manager of Mercedes-Benz of Sarasota, and I'm the Vice Chairman of the Public Policy and Small Division of the Manatee County Chamber. And I'll be moderating today, and I'm glad that you're all able to make it today out of your busy schedule, so we really appreciate that. I'd like to ask everyone if you please put your mobile phones to the silent mode or turn it off. I'd really appreciate that. We'd ask you if you'd all please stand, and we'd like to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please have a seat. Before we get started, we'd like to recognize several elected officials in our midst today, and we have with us Commissioner Robin DiSabatino. Hey, Robin, how are you? We have Betsy Benak, County Commissioner also. Betsy, there you are, Betsy, how are you? Priscilla Wisnett-Trace, also a County Commissioner. How are you doing, Priscilla? Good afternoon. And Clerk of Courts, Angel Colaneso. Angel, where are you at? There you are. She's right up here in the front. Okay. She's sitting right next to me. How could I miss her? And then we also have the Chief of Police of Palmetto, Scott Tyler's with us. Scott's in the back. Hey, Scott, how are you? So welcome. So what I'd like to do is we're here today to recognize Rick Wells. And as you know, he's a dedicated law enforcement officer with over 31 years experience. He started in 1984 with the Manatee County Sheriff's Department, and I've known Rick for many years. I started at the time it was called Bill Graham Ford, and I started in 1980, and I've happened to know Rick for all of those years, and it's nice watching Rick grow up and being the man that he's become, and knowing his father and the career path that he's followed, so it's really exciting. He served 21 years with the Florida Highway Patrol, and he was also the Chief of Police for Palmetto Police Department for 5 years. So pretty exciting things that he's done. Rick is one of those community leaders, much like yourselves that are in this room. He served on numerous boards and committees during his career. He's a past recipient of the 100 Club Officer of the Year Award and the NAACP Community Service Award. Again, my relationship with Rick goes back many, many years. And it for me, it's just really exciting to watch a young man who was growing up in the business, and you can kind of see his career path. It wasn't hard for any of us to recognize where Rick was going with his career. And it seemed like every time I would see Rick, I'd always, kind of give him a little encouragement and say, "Hey, how's our next sheriff doing?" And he would always look at me kind of being humble and sheepish like he is and says, "Well, I hope so, whatever." And when he went over to the Chief of Police at Palmetto, I reminded him, I says, "Man, you continue down this path. I see big things. I can see you being the sheriff of Manatee County one day." And Rick was always humble about that and never assumed anything. But the reason I share that story is he's a great example for our youth and our young men and women in the community, because I think everyone in this room could see that Rick had that career path and he was aiming in that direction. And through Rick's hard work and dedication and his humbleness, he fulfilled his dream of being sheriff of Manatee County, and he did it the right way, and he did it in a manner that all of us were excited about sharing his ride to being the sheriff that he is. And so it's my pleasure to introduce our friend and our sheriff, Rick Wells.
Thank you very much. I want to thank Ernie Ernie didn't tell you that most of the time when we were having those conversations, he was trying to get me to sign a contract for a new vehicle as he smoothed me over, being the sucker that I am. So I've known Ernie for a long time, and like many of you, I've seen Manatee County grow, some for the good, some not so good, but we live here in this community because we love it, and we want to try to not only make it safe, but we want to try to make Manatee County better. So when we talk about businesses as it relates to law enforcement, I truly got a feel for really how we interact and how important it is that we communicate to the business community. When I was the chief of police in Palmetto, that's when I realized, and Scott can attest to this, is that businesses, one of the first things that they do when they want to move into a new area is they check the crime stats. Well, when you live in the city of Palmetto and you're a business coming in, you want to look at the crime stats online. If you don't really check the professional way of getting crime analysis and crime statistics, which is calling the police department, when you go online, it gives you this entire zip code of 34221, which is not all the city of Palmetto. All right, 34221 goes all the way out to past Cisco. So when people would see crime stats online, a business would look at that and they would say, holy cow, the city of Palmetto has got some serious crime going on, when in reality it does not. And so we would reach out. I would reach out. I know Scott reaches out. We would have to reach out to these businesses for the mayor and try to explain to them what the true crime stats are. Because you know that crime in an area is going to keep businesses away. It's going to keep new developments away. It's going to keep people away from that area. I mean, that's common sense. That's what happens. So it's always been my job to try to make sure that people have the correct information. And that's what I try to do each and every day, even as your sheriff, which I'm very honored to be in this position. I feel that I have a lot more to offer this community, and there's a lot of things that I can do. For instance, this doesn't happen very often, but this morning at 8:30, Scott and I and the other chiefs were sitting down with Governor Scott, who was here in Manatee County. Now, when you're sitting down with Governor Scott, he's going to ask you, what do you need? What can I do for you? Well, then you tell him. And most of the time, he will help you out in any way that he can. What I like about Governor Scott, he'll also tell you, can't do that. Not going to be able to do that. They're not going to pass that. He's very upfront. He's just a very he's just a regular guy, just like us. I mean, he talks to you like he's known you for a long time, but he's up front with you, and I like that about him. And sadly, he's going to be gone here in a few years, and we'll see what happens and where he goes from that point. But I have a lot more avenues to try to bring resources to this community, and because of our relationship with the chiefs, which is very important. Let me tell you. Don't think that all law enforcement agencies get along. I wish I could say that they did. But they get territorial. They want to protect their piece of the pie. They want to protect their city limits, and sometimes they don't want to let the other one in. That's not what you have here in Manatee County. You don't have that. What you have here in Manatee County are law enforcement officials that communicate on a daily basis, that work together to fight crime, knowing that criminals have no idea where the city limits are. They bounce around. They're not that smart. Okay, they don't know that this is the city of Bradenton, this is in the county, this is Palmetto. So we are constantly sharing intelligence to try to make sure that we are all on the same page when it comes to fighting a particular crime trend. That doesn't always happen, and it should. And I'm embarrassed to even tell you that doesn't occur on a regular basis. But I can tell you that in Manatee County it does, and you should be very proud of that, because your law enforcement agencies are working as hard as they possibly can to combat crime, be proactive, and deter criminal activity. So let me give you kind of a recap of what went on last year. We have 501 law enforcement positions at the Sheriff's Office. Those are your road deputies, your warrants deputies, your SROs, your school resource officers, and your bailiffs, the ones that are doing the work as a certified law enforcement officer every day. We also have 277 deputies that work in the jail that are corrections. We have about 1,100 people in our jail at this time. Out of that 1,100, we have 38 homicide suspects in our jail currently, the most we've ever had. Now, the good thing is they're in our jail. So, I mean, that's a positive. But, I mean, it just shows you how Manatee County has changed in the last, 35 years plus since I've been here. But they're incarcerated, but it's the most we've ever had at one point in our jail. Last year, our deputies responded to over 360,000 calls for service, which came out to about 985 calls per day. Now, if you grew up here in Manatee County, you know that is a big change than the 1970s. I mean, with a population of 360,000 plus, and for the unincorporated, or the areas that I cover, everything that's not in the city of Braden or Palmetto, it's about 741 square miles. We got roughly 268,000 people that we try to serve. That's really a deceiving number because, as we know, people are coming in, people are coming out. There's a lot of activities going on in Manatee County, but our deputies are having to deal with that each and every day. 985 calls per day. I want you to think about that. Almost 1,000 calls per day, a deputy is going to some location to handle an issue. So when we talk about manpower, and how we need to continue to increase, that's why we're trying to keep up with the growth of Manatee County. And I always want to say this every time I speak. Commissioner Benak, she's here today. She has heard me speak. She has heard me say this exact thing 45 times, I guarantee you. She has been at every location that I have been at. She could get up here right now and talk about everything I'm discussing right now. And she always sits like directly in front of me and watches me. But I want you to know that our county commissioners have worked very hard with us to increase our staff for equal pay compared to the surrounding areas. Because if we don't maintain that adequate pay level compared to our brothers and sisters in Pinellas or Hillsborough County or Sarasota, they're going to jump. They'll jump fast. They're going to go where the money is. Especially this younger generation, these millennials. They're looking for the dough now. They want the dough, so they'll get over there quick. And a lot of times, what happens is we'll train them, we'll hire them, we'll train them, we'll get about a year under their belt, and if the money's not right, St. Pete PD gives them a trained, experienced law enforcement officer. They didn't have to put any money into it. All they got to do is put them on the road. But the commissioners have been very aware of this, have been very good to us, to continue to help us maintain that level of pay that we need and get those positions that we need to keep up with the growth. Because everything that we talk about in regards to growth, you have to have the law enforcement component in that mix. We have to be talking about safety, public safety, and how we're going to keep these new communities, these new developments, all these houses, all these people coming in, how we're going to keep them safe. I wear this uniform. We drive that green and white car for one purpose only, to stand out. We want people to see us coming. We want people to know what we represent, and we want to be proactive, and we want to deter crime. If we could deter crime and make Manatee County a safer place to live, it's going to bring in more businesses. It's going to bring in more tourists. It's going to bring in the revenue that every business wants to have. So my only problem, my only fear when we talk about growth is making sure that we keep up with it. If I can't be proactive, if a deputy can't respond in a proper amount of time to a call, then we got an issue. So we continue to work on that, but 365,000 people in Manatee County is a little bit different than it was when I went to school and when I graduated in 1982 from Manatee. And change is good. I mean, we can be proud of our community. We can be proud of what we're accomplishing here. But public safety will bring in more businesses or it'll push them out if it's not good enough. So we continue to work on that. Now, in saying all that, we had a 15.1% decrease in crime in Manatee County last year. So as short as we are, thank you. The deputies have responded and have been able to do some excellent work. I'll tell you what. On top of that, we had a 16.2 decrease in violent crimes, which is very exciting for me. That's what we focus on every day. We sit down every day and we're talking about violent crimes. I wish I had a crystal ball and I could just tell you where it was happening. We could put people there, but we don't always know that. We got to guess. Sometimes we got to make sure, we got to follow crime trends. I got 3 crime analysis people. That's all they do is look at crime trends and try to figure out where the next crime is going to occur, and they're awesome at it. They have actually put us in an area where a crime has occurred based upon the data that they had from the 2 previous incidents. They have put us there telling us a crime is going to be committed, and it's happened. And we were there to stop it. That's good stuff. That's real good stuff. That's what's going on right now at the sheriff's office. For me, it's about putting violent offenders away and putting them away for a long period of time. Sometimes we have to do that on the federal side. Sometimes federal law is a lot better for us than the state law, and we want to put them away, especially on gun charges. We have a task force. We have 1 member on the FBI task force, and we have 1 member on the ATF task force. Why? Because these are federal agencies. Why? Because when I get a guy that's a convicted felon, and he's got a gun in his waistband, or he's got a concealed weapon under his seat, I'm taking him to federal prison because he needs to go away for a long period of time. And we're not talking about a guy who made a mistake with a shoplifting case in 1975. We're talking about violent offenders who have used guns in the past to rob people, try to kill people, running drugs with guns. We're not talking about low-level people who made a mistake. When they have a gun and they're a convicted felon and they know they're not supposed to have it and they've shot somebody in the past, they need to go to federal prison. And that's what we try to do. They need to know that they're not going, this is not going to be tolerated in this community. We have a group that goes out and we have put some bad boys in jail. And when I say bad boys, I'm talking about people that will shoot you for any reason. They will shoot you because you looked at them wrong or you didn't agree with them at that traffic intersection. Not talking about people that make little mistakes. I'm all about rehabilitation. We work very hard in this community to bring people back into the community and try to help them succeed. We work very hard on that. We work on getting them bonded so that criminal record that they have won't affect them in getting a job, which is always the hardest thing, ladies and gentlemen. Somebody has a felony on their record, has a hard time getting a job. So I work with several organizations that try to make that happen. But it's not always easy. Thank God that we have some businesses throughout this community that will employ them and want to help them. I'm not talking about people like that. Those people we're going to help, and we're going to make sure that we give them the resources that they need to succeed. Violent offenders, if they don't want to rehabilitate, I'm going to help them because they're not going to be back in this community. We had too many homicides last year. We had 27 of them. People with guns who don't have a right to have a gun shooting people because of whatever. So that's what we work hard on with the FBI and ATF. That's how we go at it every day, trying to get those guns off the street. Now, in saying that, the heroin has been our biggest issue, as you know. If you read the papers, if you talk to people, there's probably someone in this room that has been affected by the heroin epidemic, a family member. It's hard not to know someone that has been affected. I have personal friends and family that have been involved with trying to fight this addiction. So I'm very passionate about that. What hurts me the most is last year we removed close to 300 children from their homes because their parents were hooked on heroin. For the most part, those were the cases that we dealt with. We had almost 1,000 people OD in Manatee County in 2016. 78 of them lost their life. And that is something that we have tried to focus on with all the resources we have available and try to stop. I opened up 2 recovery pods in our jail. So when someone comes into our jail, and because this is what happened, we're not trying to put a drug addict in jail. I mean, it's a disease. They're struggling. We're not trying to put them in jail. But sometimes, to be quite honest with you, that's the best place for them. It's the best place for them because of the heroin and the fentanyl that we have out here today. It's killing people. So sometimes when they do go to jail, I felt it was my obligation that once they're in there to try to help them beat the addiction, not just become a holding facility, so when they do get released, they just go right back out with that same addiction. So we opened up 2 recovery pods. We brought in Salvation Army, faith-based organizations. We start that 12-step program. It's all volunteer. They don't have to go in. We ask them if they want to. We've had great success up to this point, but at least I can go to bed at night knowing that we're trying to do something to help them. And that's really my main obsession, is trying to get them the help. I didn't even know the impact that we were having, to be honest with you, because we see them in there. I'll talk to them. I've gone in there. We've done some graduations, and it's marvelous to see them act the way they used to be before they got hooked on heroin. It's heartbreaking to know that their families have left them, their loved ones have left them because of who they had become. But when you see them in that recovery pod after a couple of months and they start to really take stock in wanting to get better, it makes you feel good. But I didn't know what kind of stats we had. I didn't know what was happening once they get out. Because what we try to do when they get released, we try to keep them, we give them the option to go to a First Step or Centerstone. We want to keep the rehab going. We want to keep them in there. And a lot of them have done that. So I was at a graduation for some volunteers. And one of the men that was in a recovery pod, he came and he spoke about how we saved his life and how good he's doing now. And it had been a year ago. And so that just told me that we need to add more beds. We need to get more in there. I'll take one. One is better than none. But then I started hearing about more. And I started hearing from others how they were affected in a positive way, and how they are doing much better now, and how their lives have changed, and how their families are supporting them again. So that's what we're doing. We're not a rehab facility. We don't have, we're just trying to do our small part in trying to get people the help that they need. It's working right now, and we'll continue to do that. But we also have to stop the heroin, and that has been almost the most difficult thing that I have ever tried to do. I've been around since 1984, so I saw the crack heyday, when crack was so prevalent in our community. But we could see the crack dealers. we could see the dealers out there. We knew who a lot of them were, so we could attack it on a street level. You can't attack heroin on a street level. I don't even call it heroin anymore. It's really fentanyl. Most of the stuff that we get in here is fentanyl. There may be some heroin in there, but the fentanyl is what's killing everyone. But it's being shipped over. Comes out of China, through Canada, through Mexico, right to the drug dealer's front doorstep, to the U.S. Postal Service or UPS. That's been the hard part for us when we try to stop it. Talked to Congressman Buchanan several months ago trying to get some help on the federal side. They put 2 DEA agents in China to try to work it on that end. China has assured us that they're going to be more restrictive on their end and start to try to cut off the labs, the illegal labs that are making this stuff. Haven't seen much coming out of China in regards to that. We're still getting it coming into the United States. But Congressman Buchanan is helping us try to do whatever he can. Representative Boyd has been a hero when it comes to trying to change the law in regards to fentanyl, carfentanil, and all the other synthetic drugs. And I'll tell you why. And some of you have heard this before. There's no trafficking limits on fentanyl because it's a controlled substance. It's not like cocaine. If you have 21 grams of cocaine, it's a felony. So, X amount of grams, it's trafficking. You don't have that with fentanyl. So it doesn't matter if you have 5 grams or 5,000 grams. Your penalty is the same. Your bond at the jail is still the same. There's nothing that really keeps them in jail, and there's nothing that really makes them receive the penalty, the sentence that they need to receive for a large amount of narcotics. We helped Representative Boyd with a bill. He's pushing it through. It puts mandatory limits on fentanyl, and this is what happens. Fentanyl, carfentanil, if you remember the spice and what Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi had to do, we had to step ahead of the drug dealers to try to figure out what the next ingredient was going to be, because spice has about 1,000 different ways that they can put ingredients in there. We've done that with this bill here to try to foresee every ingredient they may try to put in heroin outside of fentanyl. And we had to get a chemist. It didn't come from me. We had to get a chemist on that, because I have no idea what just happened. I'm looking at it. I can't even read some of the ingredients that they put in there. But we tried to step ahead of that so we don't have to go back to the legislators a year later and say, hey, we need this drug has to be added. So what that will do, that will give us some teeth. When we have a large amount of fentanyl, carfentanil, or whatever, it'll give them those trafficking limits that we need. Keep them away. They're killing people. Okay? They know they're killing people. They know fentanyl is going to kill the person that they're selling it to, but they don't care because it's about money. So that's another thing that we have worked on with Jim Boyd. Our murder statute, our manslaughter, homicide statute, under the way it's written now, it's very difficult to charge someone with manslaughter, because he was a drug dealer and he sold a person fentanyl, and we know he did, and it killed them. And I want to put him in jail for manslaughter. The problem is this. The medical examiner cannot conclusively say that it was the fentanyl that killed this person. Why? Because unfortunately, drug addicts, that disease has such a hold on them. They usually have more than one drug in their system. They may have heroin, may have fentanyl, may have cocaine, may have some spice, who knows? So they can't conclusively say this is what killed them. The federal side, which is where we're taking our cases right now, is a little less restrictive. On the federal side, all we have to be able to prove is that there was a trace of fentanyl in their system. Because they know that's the killer, right? That's the killer. So we've taken some cases to on the federal side. They're sitting in there right now. We don't know where they're going to go. They're basically test cases. But we're trying to get the state statute to mirror the federal statute. That's what we're hoping for. So we're just trying to do everything we can on both sides of the fence to try to get some teeth, not only in the law, but on the funding needed to help those addicted. And it's really going to start with education, in my opinion. We know we don't have the SROs in our elementary schools anymore. We're not teaching them about Crossroads and about DARE and all the things that some of my kids grew up with. I mean, I have kids every other decade, so some kids had Crossroads, some didn't. But those, when you had a law enforcement officer in there talking to them about drugs, and then the parents were talking to them about drugs, it made an impact. There's no one outside the parents, and hopefully the parents are sitting down and talking to their children right now about the deadly effects of heroin, fentanyl, cocaine, and every other drug out there. Hopefully that's happening. But we no longer have that avenue. We can't do that. One day I'll talk to Dr. Green and the superintendent, and maybe one day we can get the SROs back into the elementary school. That's where it has to begin. Education has to begin at that young age and then continue the education throughout the school system. So we're working on that. I do have to say something, so I need to say it now before I forget. Christine Olson, TIF's initiative, emergency contact information. Do you know what it is? I've been a big part of TIF's initiative since day one when Christine Olson is a pioneer. This is one woman who had a bill written that changed the way law enforcement contact family members of victims that have been in a serious car crash or other serious emergency. And why is that important? Back in the day, I hate when I say back in the day because it makes me feel so dang old, but back in the day, you could not find next of kin information on any of the law enforcement programs that we had. We would have to do it the old-fashioned way. We had to try to check the phone book and try to find someone after their loved one had been seriously injured or killed. Sometimes that would take up to 6, 7, 8 hours. If they were out of state, it may take 2 days. It was difficult to try to find next of kin and to let them know what had happened. And what really hurts is the fact that when they were alive and they were in the hospital, even though they knew they probably were not going to make it, we couldn't get the family there in time to at least say goodbye. We couldn't get them there. We couldn't find them. ECI, TIF's initiative, gives us that information on our laptops with a touch, with one push of a key. We have all of the information if you sign up. If you sign up, if something happens to one of us, law enforcement can go on their computer, they can see the victim family information, and we can go right away and notify the family about what's going on. That's critical. It's critical to us, it's critical to you. And that's what I always tell people. Take the time to do it. If you don't want to do it for yourself, that's fine. Do it for your family. Do it for your loved ones. Do it for the people that are going to be suffering because they couldn't get to you and at least say goodbye. So if you haven't signed up, I'm going to tell you that you need to today. I'll be coming by your workplace after we get done, and we will be having a quiz on that. No, seriously, it's a great program, and I want to point this out to you. Law enforcement cannot use that information for anything other than notifying a family member about an emergency involving a loved one. We can't use it to go find a bad guy. We can't. It's very restrictive, and if we do that, we get fined severely. So it's not for criminal use. It has nothing to do with our NCIC, FCIC, or our database. It's just about notifying families. Are we clear? We're good? All right. I didn't see anybody write that down, but all right. So, hey, I want to thank you. It's always a pleasure to be around a group of people that care about the community as much as I do. I know that all of you have been successful in making a difference, and I appreciate that because that's the only way that we're going to do it. It's a team effort, y'all. It's about law enforcement and the community. Law enforcement has never been able to be successful without the community working together. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, I'll stick around. Thank you.
So if we have any questions for the sheriff?
The question is as far as the relationship between law enforcement and the minority community and some of the issues and the tension that we've had the last couple of years, especially what am I doing, what is the sheriff's office doing to help train our deputies, and really what are we doing in our community? We're doing a lot. Deputies are trained yearly about community relations and about diversity, but we can train all we want. It's about the character of the person. It's about the individual. But we do a lot of training to make sure they understand how important it is. When you put this badge on for the first time, this badge is supposed to tell everyone that you are above all that you're here to support and defend the people of your community. But we do have a lot of training. It's done in the academy, and it's done yearly after that. As far as our relationship with the community, I have worked very hard when I was the chief of police, and even now, working with some fantastic people. Ms. Shirley Pearson over in Palmetto, Mount Carmel Resource Center, Pastor Alfred James from Mount Carmel, Pastor Livingston, Rodney Jones from NAACP. There's been a lot of work, and this is what we did. We started working on violence in our community back in 2010. Not about issues going on with law enforcement, but our main focus at that time was juvenile crime and black-on-black crime and some of the issues going on in the black community and what could we do to help in that area. So we started doing a lot of work with children in our community. A lot of sponsors came up, backpack giveaway. Debbie, you were there. Just trying to give back and trying to we had community forums. We still have community forums to this day. The main thing is you just have to be involved in the community all the time, not just when something bad happens. See, we got to be in there every day. We work very hard at that. There's always going to be a problem, in my opinion, because all the work that we do, we could work every single day. It only takes one officer. So it takes one bad officer to kind of push you back. All we can do is to show everyone in the community that we definitely want to be a part of what you're doing, and we want to work with you. So we try to do that every day. We've had a lot of success, but when issues come up, hopefully I have built that bond with people that will allow us to sit down and talk about what's happening and then try to find a solution. All right, so you want me to talk about basically our relationship with agencies in regards to domestic terrorist and security issues? Yes. Okay, I can't talk about that. That's no, okay. No, I'll tell you, we personally are in a partnership. We work with the FBI primarily when it comes to any type of terrorist information, domestic, foreign intel. We work with the FBI on that. What we do to assist other agencies is to help secure locations, sporting events, like let's say the Pirates right now, spring training. We go out because of MLB. We sweep the entire stadium, with our bomb dog. We make sure that everything's safe. There are several events that we go to out of town every year. Any large event, our bomb dogs are going to be called to assist. But the big thing is when it comes to staying on top of what's happening and preventing, it's our relationship with on the federal side and the intel sharing. I can tell you that it's a lot better now than it was back before 9/11. Information is being passed on to state and local agencies, where before that was the biggest issue, is that the federal side knew what was going on, but the beat cop, the guy riding around every day in that neighborhood, had no idea that we had a possible terrorist living right around the corner. Yeah, to be honest with you, our role hasn't changed. The federal side hasn't changed. We bring in a person who may be undocumented, and we can provide that information to ICE and also to Border Patrol. The issue is if there's not probable cause or a judge, an immigration judge that has signed a deportation order on that person, they have, under case law, they have the right to bond out, right? So if ICE doesn't get there before they bond out, or if Border Patrol doesn't get there before they bond out, now we're talking about minor crimes for the most part. Now a serious crime, they're going to be there, but they bond out, unless there's probable cause or deportation order, we have no right to keep them. So that's where nothing has changed yet as far as anything coming down from Washington. There's been a lot of talk about it, and maybe they're working on, but nothing as far as the law has been changed yet. We had sheriffs in the past that would hold what they believe, and most likely was a illegal alien, after they bonded out, and they were sued, and case law prevails. So the problem is always, does ICE want to come get them? Sometimes ICE wants to get them, sometimes ICE doesn't want to get them. So we wait for their guidance. Yeah, I think what we're doing, I think all the sheriffs are on the same boat. We're just waiting, we're asking for clarity from the federal government, what you want us to do, because nothing has changed up to this point. Well, I mean, hate crimes are nothing new for us. I mean, as far as statutorily, we know exactly what constitutes a hate crime and what doesn't. I have not seen a large intake in that. Have you here locally? We haven't seen it yet, but I mean, we take all those cases very seriously. I mean, we've had, local hate crimes. Usually those involve minorities in our community, and that's how they're charged. And that's exactly how they should be charged. So, but we haven't seen anything as far as any of the temples or nothing in our synagogues or churches or anything up to this point. No, thank you. I know we got to go real quick. I want you to know that the Florida Sheriff's Youth Ranch here in Manatee County, we changed. We had to revamp here a couple years ago. I'm on that board now, and what we do now is the siblings that had to be removed from home. Before, a lot of times they'd be separated, right? I mean, they're going through a traumatic situation, and now we're going to separate them. So the youth ranch now takes the siblings together. So we take that brother and sister, we take the brother, we have them there, as many as they can take, but they're together. So they got a bad situation, and things are not good, but at least they're together, and they can talk to each other, and it's not one additional traumatic experience going on in their life. So, I think they're making a huge difference in Manatee County, and I applaud them for that. Well, I mean, I talked about it before. The heroin is what keeps me up. The heroin, because I'm a guy that I want to be able to get my hands on the problem. I want to be able to fix it. That's what drives me crazy is I can't fix the heroin right now. I can't, and it's not just me. We can't stop the heroin from coming in. So that's what drives me crazy. That's what I think about a lot. So we work very hard on trying to get that cork in the hole and get it stopped. And then, what can you do for me?
What can we do for you? Other than giving you a free car.
Oh, okay, well then I'm done. You know what? Your support from the business community has always been really enough. The way that you have supported law enforcement in your community, and I would just say, if you see a deputy or an officer, just tell them, just let them know. I mean, that really means a lot more than you'll ever know. And I know it does to me. I know it does to them as well. And they appreciate that because sometimes they get to thinking maybe it's just us against them. But we know that's not the case. And we try to remind them of that on a regular basis. Thank you all.
So on behalf of the Manatee Chamber, we thank you all for taking time out today to come visit with Rick, and we're so blessed to have him as our sheriff. It's really exciting to see that. So thank you all again for this for coming this afternoon, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.